Stop rubbing your eyes. We haven't just rocked up next to somebody else's old Range Rover Evoque. This is the new Range Rover Evoque, and we're here in Athens to see if it's any good. It's hard to overstate just how important the Range Rover Evoque is to Land Rover. The original was a design icon and it inspired everything from the Discovery Sport to the full-fat Range Rover. So you can understand why they haven't changed the design so much. You still get the rising belt line, the falling roof line, and that broad stance that's very unmistakably Evoque. But it's all been smoothened out. It's all cleaner, more modern. The original Evoque was stunning, but it was a little bit busy in places. This is sleeker, more modern. Everything's been taken from the Vela. The front end and the rear end are all flush. The headlights and taillights are all placed neatly. And even the door handles are flush. You simply push this button to go in. In here, again, everything's been taken from the Vela. You've got this low dashboard, lots of horizontal lines, a tall center console, and this InControl Touch Pro Dual system. The screen up here, that's for your usual infotainment and navigation, and while it's not quite as smooth or as intuitive as some of its other German rivals, it all works, and crucially, you can now get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Down here, however, that's where all the magic happens. You've got a screen that controls your climate control as well as your vehicle settings. It is a little bit fiddly, there's lots of controls clustered down here, and because it's a touch screen, you do have to look down to see what you're pressing. However, you do at least get these rotary dials for your aircon controls, and this volume knob is still a nice thing to have. You also get features such as this rear view camera, as well as a screen that lets you see through the bonnet so you don't curb your wheels. Build quality is very good. There's lots of soft touch materials everywhere you look, and this car also comes with what Land Rover calls a vegan interior. This fabric is made out of eucalyptus, and you can also get a quadrat fabric of wool, and there's also a greater use of recycled plastics. Space is also pretty good. There's finally a decent amount of leg room at the back, but for the front passengers, there's a little bit of wheel arch intrusion, so you kind of have to sit askew. The boot is also 10% bigger than before. Right, let's go for a drive. From launch, the Range Rover Evoque would be available with two engines. There's a 2-litre turbo diesel with 150 horsepower, 180 horsepower and 240 horsepower, and there's a 2-litre turbocharged petrol engine with 200 horsepower, 250 horsepower and 300 horsepower. Now we're in the 250 horsepower petrol version, which also makes 365 Newton-meters of torque. And this is a very smooth and refined engine, and it pulls from very low down in the rev range, but it's not fast. It doesn't feel like it has all of its 250 horsepower ready and willing to go. But then again, this car does weigh almost 2 tons. What I'm most impressed by is the refinement on this car. I'm driving around at 120 kilometers an hour, and there's very little road and wind noise, as you can hear, and the engine is all but inaudible. Push a little bit, and yeah, you hear a little bit of this engine, but it's not too loud. The transmission is a ZF 8-speed automatic, and it does its job very well. Again, very smooth, very seamless gear changes. There is a slight hesitance to change down when you're using the pedals, but overall, it's not too bad. This car also comes with a 48-volt mild hybrid system, which switches the engine off when you come to a stop and assists in acceleration. Like most systems of this type, you really can't feel it. It works in the background very seamlessly. Now the Evoque rides on a new premium transverse architecture. This is the new platform that will underpin everything from Discovery Sports to the next Jaguar E-Pace. The body uses a mix of steel and aluminium, and you've got McPherson's strut front suspension and integral link rear suspension, just like you'll find on a Jaguar XE. You've also got an option of adaptive suspension. just like the refinement, the ride is very, very impressive. We are riding on large 21-inch alloy wheels, and while there's a little bit of a slight firm edge to the ride, it's actually pretty comfortable, very smooth, very composed. Whether you're going on-road or off-road, it feels very, very comfortable. Now the trade-off of all of this is that the handling is not quite as sharp as you'd hope. The steering is fairly accurate, but it's not brimming in feel, and there's plenty of body roll. However, body control is good, and there's plenty of grip from the fat tires and the all-wheel drive system. Sure, this is not a car to hustle around the bends, but then again, this is not supposed to be a sporty car. This is supposed to be a Range Rover, and in this respect, is very good. After all, if you want a sporty car, you would go for a Jaguar E-Pace. So overall then, this is a very, very impressive car. Now we're driving the new Evoque off-road. All models apart from the base diesel come with all-wheel drive, and there's also a new terrain response 2 system that allows you to set the car up for different terrain. Now there are 5 modes to choose from: Eco, Comfort, Grass, Snow and Gravel, Mud and Ruts, Sand, and an Auto mode that does it all for you. We're in a very challenging section, so we're in Mud and Ruts, and this automatically switches on hill descent control so that you can go down this very steep downhill section in a smooth and controlled manner. We went through some very slippery sections earlier, but the car managed to go through it very easily. This is way below the capabilities of this car. Now this car also has a water wading depth of 600mm, so whether you're crossing a river or just worried about the usual KL floods, you can be sure that this car will go through it no problem at all. It seems that Land Rover has succeeded in making this car feel more like a Range Rover. This is a very refined and comfortable machine. It'll still go to places most other cars can only dream of, and it's just a pleasant car to drive. I think this is a very, very clever reinvention of a very successful car, and I can't wait to see it back in Malaysia.